Welcome to The Other Dimension with the team, Damon Penney, Ben Winfield, and Louisa Brown. We guide you through the supernatural, the occult, and the unexplained, answering questions that will make you question your grip of reality, with special guests guiding you through everything from demons to divination, cryptids to crystals, religion to skeptics. We explore in depth the true meaning of the unexplained. So strap in, kick back, and enjoy as we enter the other dimension.
Hello, everybody. Oh my God, I'm not even in the screen. What's going on? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Other Dimension exclusive. We are joined by a special guest host tonight, Kate, who will be throwing some questions over to me for you guys to get to know me a little bit more. And quite cleverly, she's named it Damonology, which I think is quite cool. So,
of course. What else?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's a little exclusive tonight. So, big shout out to everyone in the chat room, out to Jeanette Louise Frader. I'm going to hand you over to Kate now, who's going to take over, and she's going to be the host for tonight. So it's all yours, Kate.
Exciting. Thank you, Damon.
That's
welcome,
right.
everybody. I can see all in the chat. See Annette, Lou, Jeanette, Frida, and big shout out to my dad. I know he's watching on YouTube. So yeah, today is the interview we've all been waiting for, I'm sure. It's the first of three, or I don't know if Ben and Lou are going to do it together or if we should do a separate.
I think we should definitely do it separate, because then sort of break them up apart, then you get a little bit more information.
Yeah, dissect it one by one, each person. Yeah. That sounds good. Yeah, so Damonology, everything you've ever wanted to know about Damon.
Yeah.
If anybody does have any questions, please just fire them in the comments in the chat, and I will ask as when I see them. Definitely.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay. So the first question is my most burning question, and I'm sure everybody would like to know as well.
Yep.
How did the other dimension materialize, and how did you meet Ben and Lou? So 2 questions there.
Sorry. During lockdown, I was really bored. I was still working through lockdown. My company didn't close down because we're a civil amenity, so we had to carry on working. But where people were stuck inside so much, you just didn't really get a chance to sort of. I wanted to build a community where people could talk about these things, because there was so much stuff going on. There was so much worry. There was so much people being scared, losing loved ones and that. I wanted somewhere where people could unwind. So I started a show called The Damonologist UK, which was a podcast on the Facebook. And started that up. And then, funny enough, Ben come along, and I think the story goes that he was, because I advertised myself as a demonologist, he was trying to see if I was a demonologist. And it turned out he come on as a guest, and we clicked. And I think he come on like the Damonologist UK about 7-8 times. And it just clicked. And one day I just went like, look, why don't we take this to the next level? Why don't we do a show where me and you host it, and we talk about stuff that people shouldn't really be talking about, and we'll just go from there. And it just sort of blossomed into what is the other dimension today, really.
Interesting. So it started, you said, in lockdown. That's when it all began. I didn't realise it was so recent.
Yeah, August. It was August of the first, when we first locked down. August we started it. I started, and it wasn't even the other dimension. The other dimension's been going now for, I think it's about a year and maybe 4 months. We've been doing this, and we've had some amazing guests on the show. Like we've had Drew on K. We've had Barry John. We've had some amazing guests. I can't remember her name. Bill from Wild Bill from New York. We've had so many great guests on, and the show's just come along in leaps and bounds over the years, to the point now where we've got this like core following, and everybody that sort of locks in every single week, and you guys just give out the best opinions. You get us questioning what we're saying as well. It's just blossomed into this beautiful. And now we've had obviously the addition of the Scarlet Witch and the Witch's Closet. Now it's the channel's just growing, so it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, like this network that you've got and all the guests. And I'm sure I speak for everyone as a viewer. It's so interesting, all of the topics, all of the guests. And yeah,
Hmm.
it's great. I didn't realize it was so recent. That's amazing. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we just try and talk about subjects that people wouldn't really talk about normally. You know, the taboo
Yeah,
subject. Like, take for this week, for instance, we talk about whether the moon landings were fake or not. And what we try to do, is the difference between our podcast and our shows and everybody else's, is that we give our opinions, but we don't try and force our opinions on other people. We get
sure. Yeah,
we get question what we're saying, as well as, because a lot of people who do podcasts will sit there and they'll say, "This is what it is. You have to believe me." Like, at the end of the day, we do it in the sense of like, this is what we believe, but you guys, I feel free to believe what you like.
yeah, yeah, totally. And that's what I love about it. As we've said before, it's a safe space. It's very respectful. Everybody has their own opinions, and we just share them. And there's no judgment, on other people, like, oh my gosh, you're wrong, or it's just looking at different opinions, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's I always say to people, it's the old way of spreading information. Obviously, nowadays we've got the internet, we've got mobile phones, and fridges that order food for you when you're getting low. And we try to spread information in the old way by telling stories.
yeah, yeah, totally. Nice,
Hmm.
thank you. That was the first question. I just want to say shout out to Jessica and Hugh, hello, and Eric. We all love Wild Bill, of course we do. He's
Bill's
part of the
absolute legend.
he is absolute legend. Nice, okay. So I'm going to move on to the second question. Now, this is more focused on just you, Damon.
Yep.
Um, kind of to ease you in, getting to know you a little bit more, could you
Hmm.
give me 5 adjectives that you would use to describe yourself, or what other people would use to describe you? Like, I don't know, maybe some people might find you funny. That could be one. I don't know.
I would say, if I'm going to go 5, would be the first one. What's the address? It's quirky. I'm quirky.
Oh, okay.
Because, yeah, unique. That's it. Like Marty Dot, she's quirky. She's really quirky. Because if you see, the thing is, the reason I say quirky is because the way I dress and the way I am, like, I look like the average teenager in London. But at the same time, like, I'm Norse. I have these belief systems that are quirky. I'm actually, as much as I come across as like loud and the way I sort of on the show, I'm quite quiet in mine, and I'm sort of like my routine way. So I am quiet.
Witty. I'll say witty.
Witty, yeah, there you go. Witty's another word for me.
That's a
One
good
more. One more. Large, because my character is like Bosch. Like, I'm always, even though I'm quite quiet and I like sort of my own little time. When I'm in a group of people, I'm the one who's just the loudest of them all, and I'm just constantly taking the mick out of everybody, and just that's just me.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Dave. I think that's all really positive, though. Really positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Nice. And then I want to delve into your past a little bit now. So
Yeah,
you spoke you spoke a while back about your first kind of spiritual experience when you saw a full body apparition on the stairs. There was a woman and she was carrying her head.
yeah, that was on the hallway of my flats. Yeah.
Yeah, would you say that's like your first
Yeah.
spiritual paranormal experience?
Yeah, I mean, you had that, and then where I used to live when I was younger, I used to go to school with a few of my friends, and there used to be a house. We used to call it the Ghost House, and it was renowned. It was like a local legend where I grew up, that this woman would look out the window of this house, and we got into this point where we would walk past it every day, and I would see this woman looking out the window. I would see her near enough every day, look out the window, and my friends thought I was absolutely nuts because they couldn't see her. So, and then I got to the point where, okay, obviously I know what I'm seeing now. It's, spiritual echoes, spiritual stuff. So I sort of that's sort of like the first sort of experiences I sort of had with like spiritual wise. Yeah, them two.
Interesting. And would you say that's where your journey began? So that's when you kind of got interested in it and
Yeah, I would say, because it sort of tested reality in itself. Because a lot of people say to you, it's quite a common thing when people have their first ghost experience. It makes you question reality in itself, because you're brought up in a way where, you know, you're told that you have to grow up, get an education, get married, have children, and then you pass away, and then it all starts to cycle again with your children. And when you actually see these spiritual echoes, where you see these things when you're, especially when you're so young, because you're at that influential stage in your development where you sit there and you do ask questions. Because when you get to like 5, 6, 7, you ask really stupid questions like, you know, Mum, why are dogs' noses wet and stuff like that? And it's they're really, really stupid questions. But having those experiences at an early age, they make you sort of question things in a different way. And I think that's where my journey started, because by the time I was 15, 16, when Most Haunted first started coming out, and I can see other people, it sort of introduced me to the fact there were other like-minded people out there that wanted to find out what they were experiencing. So it sort of got me to a point where I go, right, I'm going out and I'm going to go and look for this, and I'm going to go and find out the answers to the questions that I have. And then sort of developed from that to a point where I found out that near enough most of my family are spiritual and they've all had the same experiences. So we all got together and started a paranormal team, and that ran for about 9 years, 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. That's super interesting. Yeah, wow. You've had a lot of paranormal in your life since a very young age.
A lot. I mean, I've been surrounded by it. My mum is a medium, my auntie's a medium, my brother's a medium, my mum's a medium. My mum's mum was a gypsy fortune teller. I think that's my mum's mum. My great grandmother was an Irish gypsy fortune teller, and she used to do crystal balls and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean,
so it's really in your blood, isn't it? Like,
yeah, and I think with spiritualness, obviously everybody has that spiritual side. It's all about uploading and unloading your subconscious and being able to question the reality around you. But at the same time, if you come from a spiritual background, I find it easier to question reality rather than people that haven't had that experience, because they're so stuck in basically this sort of like matrix way of thinking.
Yeah. Actually, there's a question that's just popped up. Jessica, hi Jessica. She asked, did you find growing up that sometimes your sight could be a hindrance? Did people push you away?
So I was lucky enough that people never pushed me away, because once me and myself decided to open up and say, look, Mum, like Dad, Auntie, Uncle, I'm seeing things. It was like, yeah, so do we. So I didn't get pushed away, but it was a massive hindrance, not so much to the world around me, but within my own self, because I spent a lot of my time growing up questioning what I was seeing and what I was experiencing, and it confused me. And that's where the hindrance lies, because you sort of sit there and go, oh, am I actually mental? Do I have schizophrenia or something like this? Because I'm seeing other people ain't. I'm hearing things other people ain't. So it does get you to a point where you are sitting there sort of like, am I nuts? But that's really growing up.
But then Eric makes a very good point. Thank you, Eric. He says, yeah, but aren't we all a little bit nuts?
Oh yeah, we're all a bit crazy. We're all like, that's the thing as well. Like, that's what I love about the other dimensions. That's what I love about doing this show, and that's what I loved about when we was out investigating as a team and meeting all the people that we investigated with. Everybody was so like-minded, so all them nuts coming together in one pot made a lovely little meal. You know what I mean? So it was great to meet like-minded people and share their experiences. And you find a lot of the time that most of the people that you speak to and people that you share these experiences with actually started the same way as you, growing up thinking that they was a little bit mental as well.
Yeah, of course. No, it's all good, Jessica. Don't worry. I've got some more harsh questions to ask. I'm joking.
Yeah, I think Annette up there seen me flustered before.
Yeah, that was really funny.
It's true. I'm not normally flustered. I normally, when I do interviews on shows, I have a subject I'm talking about. With this interview, it's completely different, because I said to Kate, I don't want to know any of the questions. I just want to.
No, you don't know any.
I don't know what subjects we're talking about. I don't know what Kate's got planned to ask me. So it's like, it's a completely different sort of interview.
Yeah, totally. Just like say hi, Vaughn, and hi, Robert. Good to have everybody in. Thank you so much for watching. Is there anybody on YouTube? Because I don't have YouTube up. I don't know if Natasha's in or.
You got hold on, you got Natasha. I just think it's Natasha at the moment.
Oh, hi Natasha. Sorry. Nice to see you. Excellent. Thank you.
Oh my god, I watched the show last night in HD on a 55-inch TV, and I didn't realise you can actually see every pimple on my face. It's crazy.
We don't worry about that. It's fine. Who cares? It's totally fine. Anyway, wow. So what you've just said, for the past couple of minutes, I've got so much to unpick about that. I don't know where to start. I think I'll start with, you've said that you're a medium, right? Like you have kept it a little bit quiet, but recently you've kind of come out and said that you're a medium. How did that start? How did you realize that?
I was a closet medium for a long time. Basically, when we first started with the paranormal as a team, I come out and I spoke to my auntie at the time. And at the time it was, I'm hearing these things when we're going out on investigation. I'm seeing these things when we're going on investigation. What is going on with me? And she was like, no, it's fine. Look, we'll work on it. We'll develop it and we'll go from there. And it turns out I'm a pretty decent platform medium. I'm not too bad at it. I've done, I think my record's like 83 readings and I haven't got anything wrong yet.
Oh,
so,
wow.
And I've done one night with Truth Paranormal. We done it was like a party night where we invited loads of people over to a venue, and we was doing, divination rods and crystal readings, stuff like that. And my job that night I was doing personal readings. People were paying for personal readings, not a lot of money. I think it was only charging about £15 a reading, but it was all to support the team so we can get the next investigation going.
Okay.
I've done 11 readings in one night, and I remember at the end of the night, I've done this reading for this guy. And the whole time we was in this reading, he was going, no, I can't. No, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. So I'm thinking, oh my God, what a failure. And then at the end of the night, before we went home, he come up to me in floods of tears. And I'm like, what's wrong? He was like, I've just spoken to my mum on the phone. Everything you picked up on my dad is completely true. I can't believe how right he was. And as over the time, you think, oh God, I've made him cry. But at the same time, you're so happy because you've delivered that message to somebody. You've made feel so much better. So yeah, mediumship wise, it was just I think it was just progression with ghost hunting. When we was going out investigating, it just progressed over time. It turns out that not too bad here, actually. I'm pretty good.
That's
But I
good.
don't
So you're kind of,
I don't
sorry. You don't like doing it? You're just kind of training.
Yeah, I know. I liked it for a little while, but I'm at the point now where it's like I don't like doing it because I don't like being the bearer of bad news.
Okay, right. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's the only reason, really.
Do you think you will continue with it though? Do you think you'll come back to it at some point, or you'll just?
Yeah, no, I think with mediumship, and I know there's plenty of mediums in the chat room now, and I don't know if they agree or disagree on this, but I think with mediumship in itself, it's something that you never switch off. It's like you're constantly developing your skills with mediumship as you go along throughout your life. And the older you get, the more you sort of understand, the more you sort of realize, because you start to learn things and you start to sort of, because you don't get messages. What people don't understand is when you're doing mediumship is you don't get messages like, they're not direct messages in the sense of someone pop into your ear and go, my name's Derek, blah, blah, blah. I'm 18 years old. I live here. You have to piece it together. It's almost like putting a jigsaw together. So
how do you visualize that though? Like, do they speak to you? Does it just come into your mind?
All mediums work in different ways. With me, I use a spirit guide, and then they talk to me and they give me these clues. They basically repeat.
Right.
But you also get pictures sent to you, and you can see them in your third eye. So, but as you get older, you develop an easier way to read, almost. Okay. Just like if somebody was to practice Sudoku all their life, and when you first start, you're not very good at it. But then by the time you've been doing it for 10, 11 years, you get to a point where you can solve a puzzle in minutes. It's that sort of thing.
Okay, that's interesting. What about when you have to sleep though and stuff? Like, how can you just switch that off?
The first thing you get taught within mediumship when you're developing within a circle is how to switch on and switch off. Okay. I was always described to me by the person that taught me, Armani, that taught me that when you switch yourself on as a medium, it's like a bright light in a dark room. And towards it. So if you don't switch yourself off, you're never going to get any sleep. You're never going to get any time to yourself. So the first thing you learn within mediumship circles and developing your mediumship is to switch on and switch off. And people have different ways of doing it. You have people that use like a shield around you, and you put the shield around you, that stops it. You have people that have flowers that open up and close. You have lights that go on and off. But you have to visualize it in your mind, and that's how you develop turning yourself on and off.
Annette asks, do you get voices pop into your head?
Yeah, I do. But they normally tell me to start fires. So.
Oh no.
No, I'm joking. No, you do when you're not developed. When you're underdeveloped as a medium, you do get it all the time, and it does make you sort of think that you're nuts. But once you start to develop skills, you teach yourself how to control it, so you don't actually get it anymore.
Okay, I see. Are most of the voices just kind of messages coming through, or is it just kind of like you can't really make out what they're saying? It's just like, you know, low conversation and stuff, or is there anything dark that comes through and you're kind of like, oh, this isn't good?
I seem to. That's the reason why I turned to demonology and I got into demonology, is because a lot of the time when I was out on investigation, a lot of time when I was using my mediumship, I was attracting these sort of darker spirits, and I wanted to know why. But yeah, I mean, the voices, it depends where you are. If you're in quite a spiritually crowded place, it just sounds like when you're in a doctor's surgery and everyone's having a chat, and you have to sort of learn how to pick words out of the conversation. But out of 10, it's a mixture of all different things. You'll get spirits that know that they're dead and they want to communicate with you because they want to pass on a message. Or you'll get spirits that don't know they're dead, and you have to explain to them, look, you have passed over to the other side. You are in a state of limbo, and you know this is what's happened. And you have to do it in a way where you have to be quite gentle, and respect. And then that's what people have to understand. As much as when you go out doing these investigations, I've seen teams that are not respectful. Respect is the first thing you get taught. You respect the dead, because it's something that we will never understand. It's something that we will never be able to solely be able to get to grips with. So you have to have a respect for something that you don't know the power of.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, we've got lots of comments. I'm just going to read through some of the comments. So Freda has said two things. She said it's a blessing, it's a curse, your mediumship, of course. She says, I also find it depends on how the spirit chooses to communicate with us, i.e. apparition or sound or thoughts separate to your own thoughts.
Yeah.
Von asked the question, do you ever get like an old film or like old film pictures in your head, Damon?
Yeah, I've had films, I've had postcards that pop into my subconscious. Songs is another one. Yeah, Mum said songs. You don't pick the way in which they communicate, because they're communicating with you. You are the receiver in the two-way conversation. You receive what they're willing to give to you. So in any way, shape or form, however they want to. You have some spirits that decide to shout in your face, and you have to go, oh, well, step back. Right, if we're going to communicate, we'll do it properly, you know. But yeah, I mean, they pick the way that they talk to you, so it can be anything.
Interesting. Nice. That must be quite terrifying though, just thinking about people coming in and like shouting in your face. And
I think humans' main fear, that the human main fear is something that you don't understand. I mean, my first demonic experience, I was at Harwich Redoubt Fort, which is in Essex. It's an old fort built on the River Thames, and it was built as a sort of like jail / guard for the Thames estuary. And we decided at the time, because we had public with us, that we would draw straws, and then two of the team would have to come and spend time in a haunted jail cell, and we had the door locked. And you know, I drew a short straw along with a medium in my team called Paul. So we've been in this room. Bear in mind, right, I can't explain to you how dark this jail cell was. There was no natural light whatsoever. It was that dark you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. It was literally pitch black. And we sit in bed and we hear like the way to describe it is, Joe, like from The Ring, the sound that the thing makes from The Ring, like that.
Oh, is it The Grudge?
Yeah, The Grudge. That's it. That weird,
Right, like clicking sound thing.
We can hear that, and at this point, see, this is where I describe myself as nuts. Now, I love the feeling of being scared. It's highly addictive for me. Like, I get that. And whereas other people will panic and run or freeze in fear, I get really inquisitive and my senses heighten. So I can hear this growling, and the medium next to me, Paul, he's at a blind panic. He's banging at the door. Yeah, well, let's get out. And I just sat on the bed and just sort of homed in, like, started to see what was around me, because I needed to know what this was. And it was at this point I looked up the ceiling. Now, the ceiling in this jail cell was rounded. It was arched.
Okay.
Sorry, my auntie's like, she's like, because she knows the story, she was there. This ceiling was arched, and at this point I looked to the top of the ceiling and I saw two purple lights, and they were heading down the ceiling, down the wall. Now, as it come down the wall, in the jail cell door, there was bars and a little window that had a tiniest bit of natural light coming through. And as these two purple lights come down, the natural light hit it, and it looked like, the only way I can describe it was half man and half reptile with purple eyes.
Oh.
It was at this point that I decided to panic, and I run over, I was banging the door, and we got let out. And that was and that's what got me into demonology. That's what got me into studying it, and that was the first thing. And that's what I'm saying. Humans' main fear is
the unknown.
Yeah. It didn't come down the ceiling and come down the wall. It was crawling. It was crawling down the ceiling and down the wall.
I'm going to come back to the half reptile man in a second.
Yeah.
1 second. So I'm just going to catch up with Robert. He said the more you delve into the paranormal, the more you may succumb to the darker side of things. So
yes,
careful, Damon. Don't want to go there. The dark side.
Yes.
Eric, here, you'll like this one. I saw this on a t-shirt. It's not to be that does just like you, it's the voices in my head. Oh, it's not me that doesn't like you, it's the voices in my head. Okay, that's good. Bye Jessica, she had to pop off.
Bye Jess.
And it says, to me it's totally fascinating how things just pop into your head and pass it on and it happens, or it's a fact. I can't even imagine what that's also differentiating.
Crazy story for you, Kate, right?
Yeah.
I've ever told this one on any of the interviews I've ever done, so it's exclusive to the channel. When we was a paranormal team, when we were Truth Paranormal, we used to have a training ground. It was a place in Debden called Baldwin's Hill. Now, Baldwin's Hill was renowned for, it's got a lake there, and a lot of the gangsters in Essex used to dump bodies in this lake. And there's a car in the bottom of this lake as well. And we went down on a training exercise once, and me and my auntie, who was working mediumship that night doing training, we picked up on this woman who had recently been dumped in this lake. Now, we wrote all the information down that we was getting from this woman, everything, even down to the killer. About 4 weeks later, we picked up the local Gazette, and the story that we had picked up on, this lady we had picked up on, the man had only just been arrested for it, and it happened 2 weeks prior to us visiting this place.
Oh my gosh. So there's also the possibility of using your mediumship in crime.
Yeah, has happened. There's a lot of mediums that have done that in the past. And there's a lot of mediums that have used mediumship as well for personal gain. And this is where it falls down. You can never use mediumship for personal gain. Like the medium that tried to do the whole Madeleine McCann thing. You know, I think he charged something like 100,000 or something, and he got all the money, and he gave them no information whatsoever. He cold readed the whole time. So, yeah, it can be used.
Yeah, I don't know if this is true, but I've only ever known one medium myself, and he said that he would never charge for it because it's a gift and everything. But I don't know how you feel about charging.
I've never charged. The only time I charged for a reading, like I said, she was at that night that we done, but we was more charging to raise money to put back into the team. And everybody that was at that mediumship night was somebody who'd either been on an investigation or planned to go on an investigation team. But apart from that, I've never ever charged for any reading whatsoever.
So you believe in not charging, like it should be free.
It is a gift that I was given and a curse that I was given. And I think that it's something that is completely underestimated and understood by people. And I think it's something that we need to share, because the more we share it, the more people groups with it and understand it. I don't think it's something that we can use to our own benefit.
Like monetize it, and
I
that's
mean,
nice. And it says it's a free gift and it should be used in the same way. Yeah,
I agree.
That's nice. Wow. Can I get back to the lizard man?
Yeah, go for it.
What is that? The lizard man?
It turned out that it was something demonic that was attached to me.
Right.
It took a long time. I think it was about 6-7 months for the team to get to the bottom of it and dig out what it was. It took a long time to study about it, but it turns out it was a molster, which is a lower level demonic that attached to me at a previous location. When we it's called, you might know it because it's up in Essex. It's called Pluckley. It's really famous.
Okay.
Pluckley Screaming Woods, and 9 times out of 10 when you walk into it at night time, something does scream. But I had an experience at Pluckley when I was out with a team where I was mediuming and I blacked out. Now everyone in the team said that I was still talking and I was giving over information, and it felt to me that I was only like blacked out for about maybe 2-3 minutes. Turns out I was down for an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And it was at this point when I developed the attachment, and it took a long time, but it's what got me into demonology, what got me studying it, and it's how I got my degree, and got to a point where I am now, where I understand demonics in Judeo-Christian religions, but also outside of that as well.
And do you feel different having it not attached to you now? Was there a difference?
It's hard to explain. Like, people talk about possession and as is it like taking over your life. It was never like that with me. The only thing that I can remember feeling was like I was never on my own, that sort of feeling. But if you look at it through the eyes of a medium and spiritualist, you are never on your own. You're always surrounded by something. So it was no thing. But at the same time, it just felt weird. But yeah, it wasn't like my whole world crumbled and everything fell apart and it took over soul and I wanted to go and murder something. It wasn't like anything like that. It was a weird feeling. It was a weird feeling.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. It was interesting. It's so good to know these things. Definitely. Jeanette says, I've never charged for messages passed on. They're passed on to me for a reason. That's really nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Jeanette. Nice. Okay, we're going to move on because I have so many topics, so many questions.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, we could do this for like 7 hours, but we don't have 7 hours. I'm going to move on to your religion, your Viking.
Yeah.
I just want to ask, how did you come to be Viking? What was your journey? Was it a recent thing? Is it your family?
No, it was, well, I've traced my family tree back, and we do have Viking blood in my family tree. But it was more the fact that once I started doing the spiritualism and once I started getting into the paranormal, I felt like I'd surpassed what you was brought up to believe, like the whole Christian Catholic belief. There's a God and you pass over, and so such spirit. And I just wanted to identify with something, and I spent some time researching online, and I come across the Norse religion. I went and spent some time with a few Norse people, and I just identified more with it. It was just more me. It was more my belief system. It was more something that because I think with religion, you have to believe in it. You have to identify with it. It's something that you have to be fully committed to. And with the Norse and the old ways, it was just something that I identified with. It's something that was closer to me, something that made me feel part of something. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why I become Norse, and I've had my Norse baptism and so on and so forth, and all this sort of thing. So yeah, it's a big part of my life. I try to live by the Viking moral compass and celebrate the pagan beliefs and all that.
So you're like fully
Sorry, that was my
All
bad.
good.
I had a phone call at the same time. Sorry.
No problem. I was like, oh no, don't leave me on my own to go live. Like,
Yeah, so it was more of a search for something that was needed, and I found it, and I identified with it, and that's why that's why I sort of decided to become Norse. It is in my bloodline as well. If you trace it right back, my mum's family are Celts. They're Irish, so you'll find a lot of Viking blood in Celts as well, and so yeah, it's in my bloodline, but it's just something that I identify with and something that I find makes me. It identifies with me, my person.
yeah, that's good. Like, you're fully committed, 100%. Those are the gods.
Yeah.
Nice. Robert says the look of panic on Kate's face. Yes, that was like immense panic. I don't want to go live by myself.
That's crazy.
I also want to apologize, as everybody can hear. I've got an upper respiratory infection, so I just sound. This is not how I usually sound. But yeah,
I'm not going to say you sound the same.
horrible.
It's insulting, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, thanks, Damon. Yeah.
Sorry.
Your voice is always like a semitone lower. Don't worry. But yeah, nice. Talking about your religion, Viking, how would you convince somebody to become Viking if they were interested in it? Like you said, you were really taken with the beliefs and everything. How would you convince somebody to become Viking?
I don't think I would convince somebody. I think religion is something that is a moral decision within yourself. If you decide to be Norse, if you decide to be Wicca, if you decide to be, that's your choice within yourself, and it's not down to me to convince you otherwise. It's down to you to decide. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, no, you got to make sure you become Norse, because if you don't, you're going to burn in the fires of hell when you die, because then that would make me no better than the Christians and the Catholics and the Abrahamic religions, because that's what they tell you. Don't believe in God. If you are a sinner, then you're going to go to hell when you die, and I won't be that person. So if you want to become Norse, the best thing for you to do is go and find it yourself and see if you have a belief system. Look at the Norse creation, story. See if you believe in that. And that's where you start. With any religion, you start at the creation story, and you see if you believe in that. I mean, if you look at the Norse belief, the belief that Heimdall is the rainbow road between here and Asgard, and that's protected by Heimdall, the god, and that makes sense to me, because when we pass over, we have this journey in which we pass over to the other side. So we have this journey from here to Asgard. So you have to sort of identify with that religion. So I would never try and convince somebody otherwise to believe in something else. It's down to you as a person and your own belief system.
That is a really good answer, Damon. Like 10 out of 10. That's like the perfect answer. Yeah, no, good. I find the religion absolutely fascinating. I have loads of books on Viking myths, about the religion, about their it's just incredible. I really love it. It's really, really interesting.
It is so big.
Guess who's in the chat, Damon?
Oh, it's my friend, the man, the myth, the legend. It's Wild Bill.
Hello, Wild Bill. How are you doing?
Big Bad Bill. Love Big Bad Bill.
We do, absolutely. And Lou, thank you very much. Hope you feel better soon, Kate. Lovely, thank you. Nice. Okay. Talking about your qualifications that you have and how much you've studied, could you just tell people what you have studied and what your qualifications are?
Oh God, right. Domestic or spiritual? Let's go with domestic.
I would say spiritual, or both. No, that's fine.
So 14 GCSEs, A to B grade. I've got a BTEC National in e-business. I've got a GMBQ in computing. Postgraduate in psychology, and then spiritual wise, I have a mediumship qualification recognized by the SNC. I have a PhD.
What is the SNC? Sorry.
The Spiritualist Nationalist Church, which I don't.
Okay, great.
Any dealings with ever again. And I also have a PhD in demonology, and probably around about, well, I started investigating when I was 17 years old. And I'm now still investigating now. So how many years? I'm 36 this year. So that's how many years I've been investigating paranormal for as well. So yeah, that's all.
Impressive. That's quite a CV right there.
Yeah.
Nice one. Nice. And what 4 books would you recommend viewers read, like, to know more about the spiritual world? Or
well, if you look
like,
I would say only a few books you need to read. So one of them is an introduction to demonology. I can't remember who it was written by. There's about 3 or 4 different versions of it. Also, the 3 books of Enoch are a good place to start, because it sort of introduces you to demonics and other gods within the sort of Christian belief system. Another book I would read would probably be The Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock as well.
okay, nice.
That introduces you to otherworldly beings and stuff like that. But if you want to get into the paranormal and you want to understand spirituality within the mind, anything written by a psychologist called Carl Jung. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Carl Jung. There's a lot of Carls. No, I don't think.
He was specifically famous because he was a psychologist, but he also got diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. But he psychology in the sense of from a spiritual side of things. So any book written by Carl Jung is amazing when you're talking about spirituality and mediumship and stuff like that. But if you want to get into occultology or the esocentric or the exocentric, which means the inside and the outside information, so like sort of hidden history and stuff like that, another good book to read is Finding Isis by Helena Blavatsky is another good one as well.
Okay. There's some good titles there. I'll definitely check those out as well. I haven't heard of a few of those. Nice, thank you, Damon. Robert says, I've got a GCSE and running if a ghost says boo, lol. And while Bill says psycho, are you talking about me again, Damon?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, so I've got so many more questions, right? Let's do a fun one. So I'm just going to ask you a question that probably everybody's thinking but doesn't ask you. Were you named after the child from The Omen?
No. And Joe, what, right? In all seriousness, I know I don't mention it all the time, but when people call me Damon, it really bugs me because it's not Damon. But if we're going technically, I was actually named. There was a sitcom in England when I was born called Brookside. I don't know if you ever remember it.
No.
Yeah, it was like an East.
Oh yeah, Brookside. Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, like 90s, right?
It was Scousers. They were set in Liverpool. And what was the name of the family that had the dog? Remember the family that had the dog?
No, you were named after Damon O'Brien.
No, I was named after the dog from Brookside.
No, you weren't.
Yes, I was. I suppose I was named after Damon O'Brien. I don't even know who that is, but yeah. I was because Mum's behind me. She named me, so I was actually. Cool story. I was actually supposed to be a girl, and I was going to be called Siobhan. So that's cool.
Okay, could always be a middle name, Damon, if you want.
No, I've got a really cool middle name. For people who don't know, my middle name's Francis. I'm named after my mum's dad. And I'm pretty sure, was it him or was it his dad that was the famous professor of languages in Dublin?
It was my dad's uncle.
Oh, my granddad's uncle. So yeah, my great uncle.
Wow.
He was the great Professor William O'Brien. He was Professor of Languages at Dublin University. Oh
my goodness! Wow.
Yeah.
What a family! It's really nice. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Wild Bill says, "What about the teachings of Alistair?"
Oh no, we're not even going to get into that. Alistair Crowley was
okay. We're not gonna. We'll just skip over that.
Kids that decided to do things and not read properly. So yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Damon only falls on horses. I knew that was going to come up.
Yeah, Damien. Yeah, because some people call you Damon, some people call you Damien just for a joke, don't they?
Yeah. A lot of people do.
Got nothing to do with that.
Yeah, nothing.
Nice. Okay. I'm gonna ask you another really random question. You live in Essex, right?
Yeah, at the minute, yeah.
Is it really hard not to be a chav?
No. No, I think no, it's hard. It's hard. Sorry, Doug. It is hard. It is hard because we are products of our environment, aren't we, as people? And it's hard not to. But I mean, if you look to me, if I took a lot of people who have, it is because if you look, if you see me, if I go to an event and I turn up at an event, I will turn up in a pair of high top trainers and a tracksuit. I do look like a chav, but when you talk to me, I'm not. I'm far from it. So
yeah, you don't disappoint, Damon. I expected nothing less. Definitely.
Never look like the fashion, right?
Nice. Everyone's just saying that we love you being in the hot seat for once.
yeah,
It's really funny.
It's weird. It's intimidating. I like it.
And Francis is a wonderful name. Von says, my uncle, grandfather, and brother are all called Francis. It's a lovely name. Really
Cool
nice
name.
name. Should make a comeback. It really should.
It will do. Things go in circles.
Definitely. Right, I will move on. I've asked you these questions already. So, you spoke about paranormal investigations.
Yes.
I know that you have yourself as a piece of equipment because you are a medium and you're very in tune to this stuff. But is there one piece of equipment that you use very often and you swear by it? Like, yes, this works.
See, a lot of my team will sit there and say REM pods and KMF. Me, Ouija board, communication board, talking board.
Okay.
All the time. I love the way they work. I love the way they build energy when you're on investigation. Okay, yeah, we have the skeptics that go, you're moving it well, with your own hand, or involuntary muscle spasms and all this. I don't think you can beat them. And I hate the stigma around them. The fact that Hollywood have built up this stigma around them that you can't use them because you're going to get an attachment. Honestly, I have used about 300 Ouija boards in my time as an investigator, and I've never had an attachment from one. My mum collects Ouija boards. She's got about 9 of them. And
explain to her how we use it.
Oh yeah, we always when we was on investigation, we always used to use our fingers upside down, so there's chance of the friction because obviously your fingernail is more slippery, so I wouldn't use upside down. We used to get some amazing results, but yeah. Equipment wise, the talking boards are probably the best thing for me.
Okay, but you have to always close it, right? You can't take your hands off it. You can't.
Yeah, my mum was the Ouija board expert in the team, and she'd always stay behind and close the board. You can leave it open. But I wouldn't advise it.
No. Why don't you get your mum on the show? She can do like a live Ouija.
She doesn't like cameras.
Oh, it can be dark. We just have her hands on the Ouija board.
Yeah,
nice.
I mean, I've had the team on before, and we spoke about Ouija and stuff like that. During the early times of the Other Dimension, and it's something that's it's one of them parts of the paranormal that always bugs me because of the stigma behind it. You've got the films like the Ouija film, and it just produces this horrible stigma around a great bit of equipment, a great bit of communication. It really gets on my nerves, but at the same time,
I do think that you need to know what you're doing, though. Like, not just have anybody play around with it. You need to be serious and you need to know what you're doing, because if you don't close it properly, you can just mess things up that you shouldn't really mess with. Maybe.
What I understand is that any bit of paranormal equipment, whether that be a recorder or a KMF meter or a medium, they all have to be used in a way where it's safe, and they all have to be opened up and shut down properly. Because, like I say to people, when you're doing paranormal investigations, you're dealing with something that is beyond the capabilities of the human mind knowing. So it's better off to be sorry.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you, Darren. I'm going to swiftly move on because I've got so many questions. Robert says, she went there. I did, about the chav thing. Sorry. Well, Bill says, I use the talking board, but one of the favourites is EVPs. No.
I've never had much luck with EVPs, so.
No.
But I know they do work. What?
Yeah.
EVP.
Yeah. Some people swear by them, don't they? And others they just don't get anything.
Yeah, there's a really famous tale of a woman who in America, who I think it was in the 90s, who become physically obsessed with EVPs and having a conversation with a male spirit. It turns out that she was possessed, and that's where her infatuation comes from.
Okay.
She was having conversations via EVP. She was asking questions and then listening back, and then just sitting there for hundreds and hundreds of nights on end having this communication. And then she believed that she was in a relationship with this spirit, and it turns out that she wasn't. She was infatuated, and the spirit used that to, because they don't possess your soul, they possess your body. And
It's scary.
yeah,
Okay, that's like extreme EVPing.
yeah, there are EVPs getting to that point.
Yeah, definitely. And while Bill always says, I always say a prayer at the beginning and the end of an investigation. That's nice. And there's always a proper way to use the tools, as he says. So yeah, just not be obsessive with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got another really random question for you, and it is, if you could go anywhere in the world for 6 months, anywhere, it would be paid for, you wouldn't have to worry about anything, where would you go?
Bran Castle, Romania.
Oh, is there a reason?
Not to do anything with Dracula, nothing to do with Dracula, because that's supposedly where Dracula lived. During the Second World War, my major subject is Second World War. I love all the stuff that comes with the Second World War. But during the Second World War, Hitler had a branch of the SS that was dedicated to learning about the paranormal. We're back. It's okay. Don't worry, we're back.
Okay, that's good. My face just dropped. Okay, it's all fine.
Yeah, Bran Castle during the Second World War, Hitler had this branch of the SS that were specifically made to do paranormal investigations and develop the ultimate paranormal super soldier by using relics, these ancient Christian relics and different paranormal. And I'd like to spend 6 months there just investigating it and learning exactly what went on behind the walls there, because it's dripped in a load of secrets. Supposedly they're after the Spear of Destiny, which was the last knife that pierced Jesus and all this sort of thing. So yeah, definitely Bran Castle in Romania for 6 months.
Very historical, isn't it? Very historical, very interesting.
It'd be there, or it'd be Lep Castle in Ireland, because that's supposed to house 3 of the 4 elemental spirits that I'd like to find out.
Okay, nice, thank you. My next question is kind of draws from that, I guess, because do you believe in all folk creatures? So I'm talking vampires, werewolves, fairies, Bigfoot. I remember that you mentioned about giants and the pyramids and stuff. So
yeah, Nephilim. You have Nephilim, and if for the giant races that supposedly helped build the pyramids, and I can't remember his name now, but they have traced the Nephilim bloodline back to. It began with a G. I can't remember. He's an old guy, but yeah, I do believe in all that sort of things. Not so much werewolves in the sense of the moon comes out and they turn into like a wolf. I believe that there are certain mental diagnoses that have that effect. We speak about last night. So, and you have like the living dead syndrome, which is where people can turn into zombies, and they are. I don't believe in them in the sense of that the way they're portrayed in the film. I believe that there are aspects to it, but aliens and Bigfoots and that, yeah. But I believe Bigfoot is a time traveling entity.
Okay.
It will take me hours to get into the whole thing behind that, but I will do a show on Bigfoot.
We need a show on Bigfoot. Yeah,
definitely.
Nice. Well, Bill just says my place would be Skinwalker Ranch. That's interesting. And he's looking for the elusive were chicken. Never heard of the were chicken.
That's the name of the bloodline, Gilgamesh. They traced the bloodline back to Gilgamesh. He was supposedly half Nephilim, which is a part of the smaller version of the Nephilim. Right,
I see. Right, okay. Interesting. So like to do with that, talking about aliens, we know that you believe in aliens because we've spoken a lot on the show about aliens. And you don't like flat earthers. We definitely know that.
Yeah.
So 2023 is supposed to be the year where we're supposed to have more contact with aliens. There's supposed to be ships around, blah, blah, blah. What do you think they look like? Like, what is your actual opinion of what they could look like?
They could look like anything. I mean, it's the understanding that whatever they look like, it'll be well advanced any technology we've got nowadays. I mean, if you look at history in itself, the Roswell landings happened. We had the accident at Rendlesham Forest in England, where supposedly aircrafts were taken to bases. They were reverse engineered, and that's where we get iPhone technology from, and we get face scanners and fingerprint scanners, and we're able to buy things with the tap of our phone. This is all reverse engineering from alien technologies that crashed into Earth. So whatever they look like, we can only base it on evidence from history. So if you look at like the Boston Lights, that was in a triangular shape. There's been loads of UFOs that have been shaped like cigars, and you have the flying discs. I couldn't sit here and tell you exactly what they're going to look like. All I know is that whatever they are going to look like, it's going to be completely advanced to whatever we think that we have here on Earth.
Okay, interesting.
Oh, and could I just say, I agree with Wild Bill. Flat Earthers, load of crap. But Hollow Earth theory, a lot more believable. I'm about 78%. The Earth's hollow, and there's a race of
the hollow Earth.
Like albino lizards that live on the inside of the Earth, and they have control over whoever's on the face of the Earth.
So Robert asks you, do you believe in Nibiru or wormwood?
I think Nibiru is the old Indian thing, but I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if I believe in them both. I know it's not nothing. It's not something that I've actually gone too deep into. I know of them, but I have to sort of research more before I sort of take a stance and a side when it comes to them things.
Okay, fair enough. Nice. Wow. So what do you think is the biggest mystery on Earth? Like something that really baffled your mind and you have no idea?
Yeah. Apart from what Mum said, apart from women, there is I'm researching into at the moment, and it's really, really puzzled me. And there has been a lot of reports in national parks in America of stairways turning up in these national parks leading to nowhere.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
There's been I think there's been 38 sightings of these stairways just turning up, and some of them are made of like natural stuff, and some of them are man-made. Now they don't know where they're coming from. They don't know where these stairs are going to, and it's a mystery that I can't get to the bottom of. And it's also like the sky trumpets. I've done a show on. I've done the whole thing on the sky trumpets. Anyone wants to go and look at a mystery? I mean, it has got something to do with Harper, and it's got something to do with the fact that we're shooting protons at super speed towards each other to produce this God particle. But if you want to go off a mystery, just go on YouTube and type sky trumpets and try and tell me exactly what's happening. Because it's like something from War of the Worlds.
I will definitely do that.
Trust me, Kate, honestly, hear it, and it the one time I can actually sit there and say that drove fear into me. I was scared when I heard that, because it's almost like, have you ever seen War of the Worlds?
Yeah.
Like, do you know when the tripods come out of the ground, they go,
yeah,
like that? Yeah, like that siren head.
Terrifying.
Sound.
Yeah.
These sky trumpets are recordings from people all around the world. For some reason, the sky just starts making this noise, and it's very scary, very, very scary.
I can believe it. I'll definitely check that out. Lots of people have said, well, Bill, the meaning of life, that's life's big mystery, definitely. The Bermuda Triangle, Robert says, and to breed and pass DNA on as it is with all animals. What you chose to do with life in between is up to you. That's with Jessica.
I agree with that. Yeah, 100%. Because at the end of the day, we share similar DNAs, but what makes us different is our personalities and our minds and what we choose to do with our lives.
Definitely. Oh, thank you, Damon. Okay, I've got another fun question. So you have to tell us anything you'd like to share with us. One has to be true and the other has to be false. And then we have to guess what it is.
Right,
Just
okay.
for fun.
One truth and one false. Right, so let's start off.
And they have to be really outrageous and really crazy, just to throw that in there.
Crazy, right. So I was a...
You got this drunk at the weekend.
All right, no, I'm not saying, no, that's embarrassing.
No. And you got
I didn't hear that, don't worry.
Right, so here's one. So I was a massive DJ playing around clubs in London and all over England and on pirate radio. And there's another one that I've actually met the Honey Monster and Chucky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, help me out. What do you think?
Which one do you think is true and which one do you think is false?
I'll wait for the guys. I think I know, but I'm not sure.
It might be a curveball. You never know.
Could you repeat the first one?
So the first one was that I was a massive DJ and I used to DJ all around the country and on pirate radio. Yeah, I played in venues like Camden Palace and Egg Club and Gatecrasher and Ministry of Sound.
And the second one? This is like the game show Would I Lie to You? Okay, the second one.
Second one was I've actually met in real life the Honey Monster and Chucky and also Mike Myers as well.
Jessica's put DJ Honey Monster. I don't think we can have both.
Well, you say that. Both of them are actually true in a way.
So I think the first one is true, but I think you've thrown something in there to say that it's not actually true. And then the second one sounds a bit more crazy. So I would like to say that the second one is probably true.
They're both true to an extent. The first one, the DJ, that is true completely. Everything that I said is true. The second one, I went to an 80s weekend at Bognor Regis and I got blindly drunk and spent most of the night walking around having selfies with people dressed up as these characters. I also met the Smurfs, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the Trolls as well. And I was Jason. I was blindly drunk going around. I've got selfies all on my phone of me having pictures of all these people.
Can you post one?
I'll post one on the page. I will post
Okay, thank you. That would be amazing.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't met them characters in real life, but I've met people dressed as them.
Nice. Oh, thanks, Damon. That's really funny. Okay, I just think I just have some kind of summing up questions just before we finish.
Yep.
Just really quickly, do you think you are an old soul? Do you think you are a recycled, reincarnated soul?
Yes. Yep. 100%. And I've had past life regression done on me before. Turns out I was a jester in a cult, which makes perfect. It does make perfect sense. But yeah, I do believe I'm an old soul. I think that most people nowadays are old souls. You think about the earth they say 2023 years, but the earth's been around and humans have been around for a lot longer than that. So I think that most people are old souls, and we have these things, old families where, all right, in this life I'm the son and my mum, but in a previous life I could have been her mum or her dad. I believe in soul families as well, but yeah, I do believe I'm an old soul 100%.
Okay, nice, thank you. And what star sign are you? Do you actually believe in horoscopes and all that stuff?
I do believe in horoscopes because there's a very old famous quote that says that millionaires study the stocks and billionaires study the stars. But yeah, I'm a Leo, so I'm proud and very stubborn. So yeah.
Nice. Hugh asks, how is the best way to find out if you're an old soul?
Contact somebody who does past life regressions. I think Robbie from Haunted Scotland is probably your best bet. He does regression readings. He done mine and spot on. So if you want to go and find out if you're an old soul, speak to him. He's on Facebook.
Nice, thank you. There's also Andy Moore, isn't there?
Andy, well, yeah, I'm just going with who done mine. Robbie Crossan, Haunted Scotland. He's really, really good.
Nice, thank you, Damon. When did you start researching conspiracy theories? Just really quickly, you were a teenager, right? You were.
It was I can tell you the date. It was the 13th of September 2001.
13th of
Okay.
September.
Yeah, it was 13th September 2001.
My mum.
9/11 happened, and when 9/11 happened, I was waiting to get on a plane to Greece.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely scared out of my skull. And when I arrived in Greece, I started researching at that point. Then I found a book that I started reading while I was on holiday, and that's where my journey into conspiracy started. So 9/11 was my first conspiracy, and then I moved on to chemtrails and JFK assassination, Waco, going through stuff like Diana, all the way through to like when you talk about Majestic 12, Operation Bluebeam, the Montauk Project. Like conspiracies has always been a lot, like the number one for me. I've always been highly into conspiracies, and I've listened to podcasts and done my own research. I've got easily about 4,000 or 5,000 pages of written hand notes upstairs on conspiracies that I've been researching.
Oh
It's always been, as much as I love my demonology and my paranormal, I've always had this like little soft spot. It's like my guilty pleasure, conspiracy theories.
yeah, sure. Yeah. Wow, that's a long time. That's a lot of research. That's incredible. I guess the last question is, this is really heavy stuff, isn't it? You're talking conspiracy theories, you're talking about the other dimension, see what I did there, and you're talking about the afterlife. What do you do to switch off and just turn it all off and just say, you know, I'm just gonna not think about it? What do you do?
I'm two things. Well, I work a lot. That's obviously that people know that I work. I'm an avid gamer. I'm heavily into like Call of Duty, and I play a lot of that, and that helps me sort of like wind down. And I go to the gym a lot. I spend like 6 days a week at the gym.
Oh, okay.
Day, and I'm heavily into the whole bodybuilding thing and staying healthy. And for people, I don't know if I've mentioned it on the show before now, but in November this year, I'll be doing a 14-kilometer nuclear run, which is in Brentwood, and it's a 14-kilometer assault course in the mud and in the wind and rain. And I'm doing it to raise money for a charity that's close to my heart, because both my girls are autistic, and it's to raise money for the National Autistic Society. So I'll be putting a link up.
That's lovely.
Yeah. So I just sort of like unwind by gaming and pushing weights around like a jock, really.
I think we all have our thing, don't we? We all have our hobbies, and it's important, you know, to switch off and focus on something else for a bit. Yeah, that's a really nice cause.
Living, as much as it's a hobby, and as much as people do get obsessive with the carrot, it's a carrot on a stick. It's the rabbit hole. Once you get into that rabbit hole, it's hard to climb out. And you do have to break away, because if you live life in something that's so heavy and so complicated, things will become a lot darker around you. So you have to have that way to unwind.
Yeah, totally. Would you mind posting that on the page when you do your run, so that people can contribute? And that would be lovely.
Yeah, I will definitely. I want to get as many sponsorships as possible. I want to raise as much money as I possibly can, because, like I said, it's a charity.
Really good cause.
Yeah, it's very close to me. It's very close to my heart, and it's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. But just to let you know, guys, I'm not setting a time on how long it's going to take me, but I will complete it. 100%. I will complete it.
I mean, that's an achievement just to do it, to be honest. It doesn't matter about the time. Yeah. Nice. Thank you, Damon. That's all of my questions, and I hope I haven't missed anybody in the chat. I've really enjoyed interviewing you. I didn't really put you too much on the hot seat, I don't think. I think I was quite kind.
No, it was really cool. It's cool to be interviewed in a way where there's no sort of, I don't have an idea where the direction that the chat's coming.
Yeah.
And it was a really good interview. It was a really good idea for Ben to sort of say, like, let's get this together.
Definitely.
It'd be nice to see both of them in the hot seat as well. But it's been
can't wait.
Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah, no, it's been great. But guys, don't forget, after this with Ben, we got Lou, Jeanette, and Ben will be going out for investigation. So your Saturday night is sorted here on the Other Dimension. So go grab your popcorn and carry on the channel. I want to say thank you to Kate for coming on tonight and doing this for us. It's been absolutely amazing.
Thank you. I've loved it. It's been really fun. Thank you so much.
But so, guys, that's it from us tonight. Thank you for locking in for the exclusive. We shall see you on, or you've got the show tomorrow night. You've got the show after this one. And don't forget Scarlet Witch will be live on Wednesday at 7:30, talking about things that we didn't know that were pagan. It's going to be quite a good show.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. It's going to be great.
It is going to be a good show. So that's bye from me and bye from Kate. And just remember, guys, no other explanation. There is always